This is timely. As you know, we're talking about trade agreements and so forth, and these are very important aspects of those. I come from Washington State. We don't raise a lot of soybeans or cotton. Certainly have wheat and corn. Used to have sugar, but we have a lot of specialty crops in our state. Tree fruits, grapes, wines, certainly a lot of meat products come from our state as well. So, trade protection can take many, many forms. Certainly subsidies are one, but phytosanitary issues are another, tariffs, different kinds of things, inputs. So I guess the focus of my question is just generally, do you see other countries focusing on specialty crops more so than some of the other commodities, and is that a trend that you're seeing more of? In either one of you, but both of you, please.
I would say that specialty crops are certainly becoming a more important component of U.S. agricultural exports. When I began my career in Europe, I worked on European issues. It was all about soybeans. We were exporting, it was soybeans and then a big gap and then a few other products that we were exporting to Europe. Now, the largest export crop for the U.S. to Europe is almonds. And we've seen maybe not such a dramatic shift in other markets, but specialty crops are important export crops for the U.S. And trade agreements are important for market access for specialty crops. There are still quite we still have to deal with tariffs in a number of important markets for different specialty crops. And in some cases, the tariffs for those products are higher than the tariffs for basic commodities. And also, sanitary and phytosanitary barriers or I should say, phytosanitary barriers are prominent import restrictions. For me, one of the best illustrations of the value of trade agreements is the WTO agreement on sanitary and phytosanitary measures, because that agreement, first of all, as international agreements go, it's pretty clear, it sets a pretty clear standard, and it's a standard that's proved pretty durable, and it's been extremely valuable to have that standard in bilateral negotiations with our trading partners, and then when we've hit an intractable problem, it's been an agreement that's enforceable through dispute settlement. And I think that we ought to look in the future to improving on that agreement in our trade agreements.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that the interesting thing about specialty crops in terms of the way markets function is they tend to be market window kinds of crops. So there's bilateral flows. There's exports and imports coming. We export tomatoes, then import tomato. And it's based on a market window. So it's a much more difficult thing to administer. But a lot of people sort of think that specialty crops aren't necessarily subsidized globally, but they are. They tend to be subsidized in a different way, as you point out, either through trade restrictions like that, or R&D, input subsidies on, fertilizer, seeds, that sort of thing. So I think it's an interesting high-value industry that really has a lot of impact on, especially regions of the U.S.
Yeah, and I guess I bring it up just so we don't forget about the issues surrounding specialty crops. And you already answered in your first answer my second question. It had to do with trade agreements and how that can help, and certainly that puts us in a better position negotiating those and having a process to deal with the issues. So appreciate very much again your testimony, and Mr. Chairman, thank you, and I yield back.